So when I started recording this video, it was kind of just going to be me walking the towpath, talking about the scenery and the wildlife and everything. But as I sort of got deeper into the video, I found myself sort of like wondering and pondering, as it were, about boat life, how it's changed our life, how we'd never want to go back to land again, all the different places that we've been. You know, we go to places that we want to go to, we go to places that we don't want to go to in order to get to other places, and our scenery's always changing. We've stayed in some absolute cracking places, and we've been through some places, you know, that you know, you certainly wouldn't want to stay, you certainly wouldn't want to moor your boat. So yeah, stick with it. As the video goes on, we kind of start talking more about boat life, or rather I do, Bloy's away at work during the recording of this video. And yeah, I kind of, yeah, it's interesting because it kind of really got me thinking about how it's changed our life from what it used to be. And I think that's really a good thing. And the fact that, you know, I think that's the other thing as well, you've really got to get on when you live on a boat together.
You can see here, I think this is probably the gander here, because I'm just going to put the camera across, and I don't know if you can make out on the bank there, there's actually a goose that's over there. It looks like she's building a nest, so it's looking like he's keeping watch out for her. He doesn't seem to mind me being here though, but I'm not going to go any closer, I don't want to disturb him. So it's Bank Holiday Monday at the moment, so I have just not long past lots of joggers and people walking, but it seems a little bit quieter down this way. Yeah, and there's another goose on the water here. There just seem to be a huge amount of Canadian geese in this area. So this is the next bridge that we'll have to go under. The second bridge that we'll have to go under when we move again. And Blythe saw the spun the other day when he went out for a walk, and it's really low. We've had to duck our heads under a few bridges lately, but this one I think we'll actually have to take the tyres off the roof and put them on the bow when we're travelling, because with one of the bridges that we went under, we actually only cleared it with the front tyre on the bow, you know, on the bow roof end, by about an inch or so. It wasn't far off catching at all, so obviously you don't want rubber wedging between the roof and the bridge at all, because you could get pretty jammed. Low bridge, they're not kidding. I expect there's people that walk under here that have to duck. God, yeah, that's literally skimming my head by about 3 inches. They're not the same, but the Canadian geese are not the same shape, but they're a similar colour to one of the geese I had years ago called Goosey Lucy, and she was, I'm trying to think what she was. It wasn't African, Chinese goose she was. I had lots of different geese, Sebastopol, sort of your normal Ebden and all sorts, but yeah, some of them were absolutely gorgeous. Some of the species of them, some of the breeds rather, are more docile than others. So, but yeah, when it gets to mating season, the ganders and some of the species can get pretty annoyed with people when they cut them about during nesting season. So there's a decent sized winding hole here. So yeah, really pretty. So they must have a lovely view out, looking at the wildlife from here. It's lovely to see as well all the greenery coming back out again, and the blackberry leaves are starting to grow. Look at that, those willows, absolutely beautiful weeping willows with the blossom trees starting to come out by them. Just absolutely love this time of year when everything starts waking up again. If you can see, there's a little moorhen over there, chirping away over by the goose on the left. You know, when it's as quiet as this, it's surprising. I don't know if you can hear as well the hum of the busy traffic in the background, but then when you come down to the canal, and that's just in the distance, it's just so much more peaceful. I watched a programme, it's probably about 3 years ago now, where it said about that depression, people with depression improve by roughly around 20% when they live on the water, and I can well believe it. I know it comes with its stresses, but certainly it makes quite a difference, you know, the peacefulness and the scenes that we see. You can see there's quite a bit of debris as well, sort of like as in leaves and twigs and things that are in here. That might be because we had Storm Dave a couple of nights ago, but obviously you get it anyway, but there's more sort of further down than we would normally see, and there's a lot of it between the boat and the towpath as well. It's just amazing how fast the weather can change, and it's back to blue skies again. Ah, the drakes have woken up and they're just swimming down. Just been turned off by a goose. Taken off their path. Yeah, if it wasn't for all the hum of the traffic that you can hear in the background, you'd think you were right out in the countryside here. Goose across the other side of the canal here. Sorry, I haven't long woken up. I had a nap. I didn't sleep very well last night, so I was up a lot of last night. So you can see the goose there, the other side of the canal. He's round our boat ever such a lot to be fed, and he's up and down and resting there. So I suspect it's a gander with a female nesting nearby, because he's always on his own. He doesn't seem to mix with anybody else. See, this is what we're not a fan of. It's like the rush, the traffic and everything. And when you're down on the canal and you're away from it, it's so much more peaceful. It's like everybody's so busy. You know, there's such a lot of lack of respect everywhere now because of everybody seems so short of time. You know, luckily for us, we're both sort of like very part-time with regards to work, and I actually work from the boat. So from that perspective, it makes things a lot easier. You know, we don't have to go out in it too much, but unfortunately when Bly goes out, he does have to. And yeah, absolutely hates it, the amount of times he's had to do sort of the M6 and things, and it just doesn't stop. It's like, you know, there used to be like Sundays that people used to have off and things, and it's just not the case anymore. It's just traffic all the time. Because they're living on the boat, we don't seem to have weekends as such. It's almost like all of our days kind of blur into one, so it doesn't bother me sort of if I'm working for an hour or two on a Sunday or whatever. And yeah, it's funny, it sort of changes things. It's just so different than when you're living in a house and around other people. Oh, you can see here, look, there's quite a few geese down here. I think there might be another female nesting over there as well. It's a little bit breezy out, but it's pretty warm still. Really, really lovely weather. So I think we've got the rain and that coming back in. Yeah, the Canadian geese, they don't seem to mind people being about. There's, oh, I can see another one around the corner as well. I think they're just so used to people on the canal path. I think probably after all the COVID fiasco and everything like that, where people were stopped going out and as they normally would, I think that people were probably using the canals a lot more then, you know, like the towpaths. So I don't know, because we weren't on there then. So, but I would imagine that that's the case, because that's one of the things that we do find, is that you do lose a sense of privacy to a degree by being on the boat. You know, and it's a bit like you don't expect somebody to come outside your house just as you're stepping out and then ask you how much it cost. But that's the kind of thing that happens in boat life, because I suppose it's like that natural curiosity to people because they don't know, and it's like a genuine question to them from a point of curiosity rather than being rude. But yeah, it's certainly something you wouldn't ask somebody about the house about a stranger. another narrowboat down here, so I don't know if they're continuous cruisers or not, but they obviously have the same idea as us with regards to sort of like just moor up sort of anywhere that looks safe. Although that nearly wasn't the case for us last week, because when we were coming out of Manchester, unfortunately we sort of heard, well, first of all the prop lost power, and then we heard sort of like the chink in the metal, and we thought, oh my god, you know, have we broken down? But it was actually, we caught up a really long piece of stiff metal wire in the prop, but it was sort of like one of those heart-wrenching moments. And I think that's all sort of tied up with sort of all the good stuff as well. You know, it's the challenges, it's the problem solving, it's the having to think further ahead to sort things out and arrange something, you know, because living off grid like this, you know, nothing comes easy. You know, you have to fill the boat with water, you know, you have to make sure that you're you know, you've got enough electric and things, because, you know, because we've got a bath on the boat and a washing machine. We're quite heavy water users, and, you know, because of like using computers and things, we're quite heavy electric users as well. Sorry, I'm just feeling a little bit sleepy. I think it's a mixture of the sun and the heat and everything. Again, no peace on the towpath. We don't ever seem to come down unless it's dark and there aren't people here. So yeah, a bike just went past me just as I was filming and called out. I think from the nature side of things we tend to notice more as well, as in, you know, not only the wildlife around us but how the seasons are changing. It just seems so much more noticeable than when you're in a house, you know. It's like, how many times would you walk down the street and see this? You know, maybe in some areas but not many. But, you know, things like this are just sort of like normal on the towpath and just absolutely beautiful. You know, I was thinking as well this morning, because I was sort of like thinking about filming this video and everything, and the things that I wanted to say. Sorry, I'm going under a tunnel, so it might be a bit echoey. And, you know, before moving on to the boat, I had a massive bedroom. It was in a bungalow, so I had patio windows that opened out onto the patio, super king size bed, ensuite, and, you know, absolutely crazy to think we've got like this little double bed that's pushed up against the gunnel, and, you know, the bedroom's so small, and, you know, it's absolutely tiny, but I'm sleeping some of the best that I absolutely ever had. And Blois said exactly the same. It just seems really comfortable in there, and I suppose that's about being at peace with your home, feeling comfortable. Yeah, just the thought of having to sort of like move back into civilization somewhere like that, you know, is just absolutely mad to us now. Couldn't imagine doing it. And yeah, it's a scary thought, because one of our boater friends has actually is currently in hospital and has had to sell her boat, but hopes to be on the water sort of further down the line. But that thought of having to do that and come off of the water, you know, because Bly and I are both in our 50s now, you know, we're young enough, but you never know what's going to happen. That's quite a scary thought, really. You know, we'd probably go into a marina. We wouldn't want to be in a marina, but I think that would probably be preferable to actually coming back to living in a house, because at least that would mean that we could go out and cruise if we wanted to. There's something quite special to us as well about being able to untie a mooring rope, put the canopy down, put the engine on, and be able to move our home, you know, because our first 2 nights were in Salthouse Dock in central Liverpool. Then we went from there under the Liver building tunnels out onto the canal. And yeah, you know, we've been through central Manchester, we've been absolutely out in the middle of nowhere. We've had to travel through places that we really don't want to be in order to get to our next bit. We've had to change our route again and again because of stoppages, droughts and all sorts of things, you know. So it's just always sort of changing. It sort of takes away that boredom in life, you know, and sort of, you know, you have to be adaptable. There's no way, I don't think, that you could live on a boat and not be adaptable. And I think people think that it's an awful lot easier than it actually is. You know, that it's this idyllic life, which it is. You know, it's very idyllic, you know, the sunsets, the wildlife, you know, you can see all the beautiful Canadian swans here. Sorry, geese, but, you know, we see an awful lot of swans as well, though. but you know, but people don't sort of see some of the downsides that come with it. But it's all about that. It's all about the balance. It's all about sort of understanding that, you know, it is what it is, and that, you know, if that's the kind of life that you want, you have to take the rough with the smooth. You have to learn the problem solving. You have to put up with things. You know, and we've just gone with the flow. We really have. You can see that, you know, other than the goose has turned its head a little bit so that it can keep its eye on me, they really don't seem bothered by people at all. You know, having a car when you're a continuous cruiser, that kind of brings problems and solves them at the same time, because obviously you've got to leapfrog the car every time you move. Sometimes that's a walk, sometimes that's a taxi. You know, you've got to find somewhere to, you know, park the car as well, where it's going to be safe. We parked ours where we thought it was going to be safe last year, and one morning Beloy found the window smashed. So, you know, there's all that sort of side of things. You know, insurance is shooting up because you're a continuous cruiser without a fixed address, the problems with getting post and things like that. But there are always around these things, there really are. So Beloy's actually away for a few days, probably about 3 or 4 days. Longest he's been away. He's never been away for more than one night before, because he's away helping one of our boys, Sid. So it's sort of really strange him not being there, because of course when you live in such a confined space and you're together most of the time, it's just a weird sort of oddness not having the other person there, because, you know, we're never sort of like normally apart for more than a couple of hours at a time. So yeah, it's sort of a really strange feeling. So I've sort of come out and had a walk and everything to kill a bit of time, because I'm doing a video call with a friend later, and I'll probably do that over the next few nights, catch up with some friends on video call who I've not seen for a very long time, and things like that. And I've got clients booking in as well, so just trying to keep myself busy really, and doing some video editing. And yeah, because you know, it's not the same in a house. You kind of get used to people coming and going, you know, from the point of view of full-time jobs, things like that. But as I said, when you're in that smaller space in the way that we are, and you know, you spend so much of your time together, it's sort of a really, really weird feeling. It's like the boat almost feels unusually quiet. Not that Beloy's noisy, but yeah, it just feels unusually quiet when he's not there, which is really strange. So, I'm nearly back now, so just went for a little wander. I've done this video over a couple of days. I've been pretty tired lately. I've got really bad eczema still at the moment, to do with allergies and things, and sort of trying to get to the bottom of that. And sorry. So yeah, the bikes kind of creep up on you a little bit, you know. If you don't hear them, there's no warning, but it's some of them will ring their bell at you. I find it really arrogant, because it's like, get out of my way. Pedestrians have got a right of way, and they don't seem to care about people's peace. You know, sometimes we've had trolleys, you know, like trolley full of shopping or whatever, that's going back to the boat, and you'll have like a bike come up behind you ringing, you know, even though there's two of you, and you're obviously sort of like ladened up with shopping bags and everything. They just don't care. It's just like, ring ring, get out of my way. And yeah, they'd have a nasty shock if we didn't, because they go into us and it would be their fault. So yeah, I'm nearly back now. So gonna go and make a coffee. But as always, really glad to see 34 Vampires and get home. She's a little bit battle scarred after going through the 9 locks in Manchester. They're pretty tough going, and there's some really nasty bywashers right next to them as you're approaching, and they're all double locks as well. So, but yeah, she's got her battle scars a little bit more, you know, more than ever. There was very little on there before we went through those locks, but yeah, that's all just another job to do in the summer, and sort of patch up the lower paintwork on the side of the hull and things, and we'll get that sorted. Be interesting as well to see how this footage comes out. This is a new camera. I think it's the updated version of the one that I've been putting on the front of the boat lately. because what I'm finding is, of course, when you're putting everything on, filming from the front of the boat on the cruises, of course you're missing what's going on the back and everything. So I've got a second one, this one, so yeah, hopefully it'll provide some nice footage. Yeah, and just as I get back, look, there's the lone, I was going to say swan again, goose that is probably waiting for his mate somewhere on the nest. And yeah, I'm not sure, I can't remember now from when I had geese. Oh yeah, there she is. There she is. I hadn't even spotted her because if I walked to the car, I walked down the other way. So of course she's hidden behind that that bush that sticks out of the side of the towpath. I didn't realise that she was there all along. Oh bless her. That's why he's been hanging about so much. Now that's a scene that I never get sick of, coming home to 34. It's weird, it's like, because we live on our own, you know, as continuous cruisers, it's like living in our own cocoon, so to speak, like really isolated. You know, Bly says the same. You know, every time he sees the boat, he's really glad to be home. So yeah, it's funny how it changes perspective, because I never used to feel about that when I lived on land. So I'm gonna leave that there, because it's time to switch the cameras off and the alarm, and so I don't sort of go waking up everybody around when the alarm goes off. And yeah, I'm going to go and have a cuppa and a bit of a chill and get this all uploaded.